Hello. This week's article is about time management 201, and we're trying to build on the discussion that we had in the previous entry regarding time management, which I labeled 101. And in this particular session, we want to raise the bar just a little bit, but we still are aimed at non-techie solutions. Remember, the whole point in the pencil paper approach that we had taken earlier was to get you into the discipline of managing your business time and not focusing in the slightest bit on the media that we use. We can get to that here soon, but right now it's about just the concept of controlling your time and getting your hands around that once again. So I mentioned in the previous recording that the whole idea is to separate your personal time from your business time. The use of the planner is not to consolidate your life. That will come in later sessions. Right now we're just concentrating on your number one focus, to which this discussion is all about, and that's your business time. And so we want to separate the two, business and personal, for now, and we'll bring them together in the future. But for right now, we just want to separate them for the purpose of practicing managing your own business time. So that said, we're going to raise the bar just a little bit over our last discussion, and that we're going to be introducing a color coding system. If you hadn't already jumped to that, I know I suggested putting that off and just working with pencil, just to get you in the practice of managing your time, making mistakes, correcting it, and that kind of thing. But figuring that we're ready to go to the next step now, some new tricks simply would be the implementation of four-color ink, which I think is a great idea for visual separation of tasks and types of tasks, and it helps add some clarity to your planner. I recommend black for just routine entries, red for the important hot items, high priority items, green for those kinds of things that are completed. You line out the red items that are done. Red being important, must get done items. Green, overriding that, simply says we have finished that, and that by adding the green, we're saying complete. We can now go look past all that red. And black is just for your normal entries. And I use the blue to separate personal communications, as I had discussed in the previous session. And I define the personal communications as emails, phone calls, letter writing, that kind of thing. So when you look at your to-do, your week at a glance, and your hour-to-hour schedule, these colors will help you differentiate red priorities, green completions, blue communications, and black all other routine day-to-day tasks. And so these things begin to separate by color, and so there's just a sense of organization forming just by the implementation of color. And that's what's important here to bring about. You now have a third visual, or a third cue, and that is a visual cue on top of your listing of the different types of priorities based on your calendars, the three different columns I talked about in the last session, and also the terminology that you use, like hot, priority, that kind of thing. Now you can add the color on top. And so one of the things we want to do beyond visual enhancements is talk about some of the more subtle things. Again, raising the bar just a little bit on organizing your planner. I talked in the last session about rollovers. And I think rollovers are a novel idea. I'm glad that you had tried that. But as you may have discovered, rollovers can ruin your time management, because at the end of your day, at the end of your week, these things begin to accumulate. And it's important that you don't, because if you let two roll over a week, by the end of the month, you've got 8 different items rolling over into the next month. That's crazy, okay? What you're identifying here is your struggle with trying to manage your time. And so it's very important to raise the bar extremely high on rollovers and force yourself into time management practices that reduce the amount of rollovers. I recommend no more than one rollover a week. And while you're probably struggling with 2 or 3, that demonstrates my point. And that is that you may argue that you're extremely busy and have a lot of accumulating tasks, but I would argue that you need to work more diligently on managing the time that you have and the way you're using it especially. And it's hard to hear, I understand that. But you must think in those terms. You have to raise the priorities on yourself now in order to get time management under control. So no more than one a week. If you really are struggling, I can understand for a month or 2 going with 2 a week and bringing it back up to 1. But under absolutely no circumstances do you accept 3. It just won't stop after that. So, the 2 is a very temporary thing. 1 is the goal and always the goal, and that's what you should keep for the long term. And in doing so, you're going to learn how to pull in people to help you. You're going to learn to say no to some things. You're going to learn how to accelerate others. These kinds of things are going to sharpen inside of your skill set and make the 1 rollover a week very achievable, to the point where you'll probably have weeks at a time where you have no rollover items, which is going to be awesome. And that's when you're going to appreciate the struggle you're going through right now in achieving that and enjoying and not having things piling up over time. So, moving on to a topic of higher priority items. Big projects that start as high priority and those that move in that category over time, like rollovers, need to be red items, as we had discussed in a previous session with using the words priority and hot and that kind of thing. Now we're saying, okay, we're going to take that same thing and make them red. But at the same time, because they're going to pop on your schedule visually, they need to become a very high priority for you. It's the type of item that indicates to you you need help to get them done. After all, your task as a leader is not to get everything finished on your own. It's to make sure things get finished, period. Your role and interaction in those things in conjunction with that of other people is important, and you have to master that. And so make sure that your high priority projects are not your stress alone, that you share that stress with others. At the same time you're sharing that stress, you're also sharing the responsibility and success. So bring others into that type of a task and get help, get things done. In this way, you're going to learn how to manage people and resources in addition to your time. The next area I'd like to talk about is transitional time. I mentioned that in the previous session. It's that time between things that you schedule. So make sure you have that transition where you get the breaks in, you get your travel in. Don't just start piling up things back to back, unless of course you're going to be in one place where you can get those things done. Make the spaces that you need in time for the transition from one task to another. Next I want to talk about is the notes, filing your notes, and these are things that happen post-meeting. I have a simple calculation in the blog that simply says notes plus computers plus data drives plus scanners plus assistants plus shredders, considering the fact we're talking about the 21st century, means paperless. And if you've worked with me before, you already know this. But it's so important that you not walk out with your handwritten notes and start going into a filing system that's going to bog you down. You have admins, you get these things made electronic. Lacking admins, make the space in between time, or rather in between sessions, to get the time to make these electronic yourself. Whether or not you scan them or you retype them is beside the point. make them electronic. And if you can have meetings where your laptop is available and you have a template that you can use, you start typing these things in as the meeting's going on, you're doing it on the fly. So much the better. The point is, go electronic. Don't pile up the paper. Otherwise, your time management is going to get buried in trying to find stuff. And it's so much faster to find things electronically in searches with your computer and using organized filing systems than it is to be tracking papers around your desk. And further, I hope you see that this particular session is a little higher than the last one in the kinds of methods that you use and deploy in your time management. We're going to raise the bar again here very soon in another session. But for right now, let's try what I've discussed today for a few weeks. Let's see how it goes, and give me your feedback. I appreciate the comments that I received in the first session. So keep me posted as to how you're doing. I know in the blog I make a lot of repetitive comments about things being important. Reach out, call for help if you're struggling. Yeah, I mean that. Don't get stuck. Don't get depressed. Don't get mad. And don't toss the system in a trash can because it's difficult. Everything new can be difficult in the beginning, but time management is very easy. It just takes a little help. And I want the systems to be helpful to you, and I want you to reap the rewards of that. At the same time, if you're just stuck in the processes of getting this implemented into your work, then that's when I want you to reach out and say something. So make the call, make the email, whatever, just get a hold of me and let me walk through this with you and deal with your particular struggle and help you get to the next step. So thank you for your time, and appreciate you listening and reading through the blog, and I hope to hear from you soon. And on that note, I hope you have a great day.